What's going on, Team MG? It's Michael Gascon, the Horse Guru, and I'm coming to you today and showing you how to move those shoulders, disengaging shoulders from the ground. You call it a leg yield, call it a shoulder yield. It's the beginning of your diagonal work, your lateral work. It's really what we're looking for. Today, to demonstrate that, I have a freshly gelded 3-year-old, what was a stud colt, Gypsy, and he was a little full of himself, so much so that he got sent all the way down to South Mississippi from Boston, where they parked the car and opened the door in Boston, where the clam chowder comes from. And he got sent all this way because he likes to buck people off, buck the saddle off, buck the riders off, buck anybody off who gets on his back. And we plan to get the buck out of him. It all starts with being able to gain control of his head so we can gain control of the horse. The 3 body parts that I need to gain control of is his head, his butt, and what we're going to do in this video is the shoulders. So anytime that we're going to start with that shoulder work, we're always going to start with our most valuable thing in our horsemanship, which is our circle. Nice big coils like this. I want to make sure that on the horse that I have sitting around me that his butt can't get past me and kick me, so only a foot of rein or so here, standing directly in front of him. And he was real pushy and he didn't want to move away. And then if you bother him enough to move away, he would threaten you with a bite or a kick. So I want to point him off here with my left hand. This is also called my lead hand. Show him this way. Then I start swinging this rope towards his shoulder. If he doesn't move, I'll start swinging it towards his shoulder and start popping that shoulder. I want to make sure that in my push hand, which in this case, he's going to the left, so it's my rear hand, also my right hand. I only ever want to swing it overhanded like so. And the reason I want to swing it overhanded is if I swing it any other way and it touches him, it's going to lose all of his momentum and I'm only going to get one pop and hope that he does the right thing. You don't want to hope. Hope is no good for you. What you want to do is be very clear and concise about what you're asking. So when I swing it vertically and overhanded, if he doesn't move, I can pop, 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 pop. The second he moves, I release. Now we're starting to have a good circle. What do I mean a circle? I'm pivoting in the center and he's looking right at me. This is what we have to have. This is what we have to have before we even worry about those shoulders. If we can't get the horse to just circle us, we're definitely not going to get good shoulder movement yet. So now that he respects us enough to look at us, when he came a week ago, I mean, he was yelling for the ladies. He was looking all over the place. You couldn't pull his head around. And I got this just by sending him off with my push hand, and when he tried to straighten up, pulling on his face to look at me, and then sending him off with my push hand, and then pulling on his face to look at me. Now we have a circle. From the circle, this is where we're going to get into moving those shoulders. Get him moving first. Get him bent. There we go. Now what I want to do is I'm going to look at his shoulder, specifically the point of his shoulder where his chest is, and I'm going to start coming in his direction. I'm going to step forward and left like I'm going towards his chest. And he wants to keep going. The do's here are keep the horse moving forward. Without forward, this shuts down. The don'ts are don't overflex him and push him here to his shoulder because it shuts down. It shuts down that forward motion. We do want to keep the bend. But we want him crossing over in that front end. And that comes from the ability of us being able to put pressure on his shoulder and walk towards it, but him not being able to take his face away from us. So right here, I'm driving towards his shoulder. I'm walking that direction. If he doesn't move, I'll pop him in the shoulder with my push hand like so. Keeps his feet going. There we go. Any given time, I can stop and put him back in a circle. And I do that just by stopping my feet. Throughout this whole thing, one of the reasons that made him such a bucker is obviously he's in great shape if round is a shape. With that being said, he really didn't want to work. He really didn't want to move his feet. Well, now you have a horse that's lazy, is stoic, and you're pushing him and they're not wanting to move. Well, he doesn't want to go and you're asking him to go and it builds a buck. Now that we have his feet a lot softer, we have his face softer, his feet are moving better. Sticky face makes for sticky feet. Again, I'm going to start pushing. If he doesn't move his shoulder, I'll start popping on him. Now what might happen is you pop that shoulder and your horse straightens up his face. You have to keep the bend to get those shoulders moving. From here, I'm going to switch and get the other side, point this direction, show him my popper, There we go. He thought about bucking right there. So I popped him on the shoulder again. So you see what I mean is, you know, we're less than a month in, so he's still a little bucker at heart, but we have enough respect out of the halter that even right there in that moment when he was thinking about bucking, he really respects our halter more and the pop that will give him more. So now we're starting to have great shoulder control. Stand in one spot. Your common denominator for almost every exercise, for every bridle change, is going to be the circle. Now I'm going to start walking towards his chest and the point of his shoulder. We got to keep them moving. We can't let them shut down. Where this gets stale is when we worry more about the flex and less about the motion. And when we do that, then we don't get that shoulder control that we want. The very first shoulder yield that you get is whenever you're directly in front of them. That's why it's so important. Always start your circle from directly in front of them. We've already backed them up in kindergarten, so they respect our bubble. So now point them off and start swinging this rope and start walking their way until they move their shoulders. That's the first shoulder yield that happens. And then from there, we can push into the circle. It's even more advanced when you're going one way and you switch the other way and they cross over like that. Now you're starting to get really advanced. Whenever he can leg yield one way, switch direction, and he can leg yield the other way. You saw how I put a hand in his face? I put a hand in his face because he thought about coming right over top of me. Keep him going forward here. And basically, through this shoulder yield, I can get him to go wherever I want. Switch my hands on the lead rope. Now I switch my body. He respects that popper enough to move away. Very nice. Good job, buddy. He's going to make it. We're going to get the buck out of him. Guys, that's how we get the shoulder yield out of a horse. The do's, make sure you keep the forward momentum, keep the bend. Shoulder yielding is a forward motion. You want him going forward and crossing over as he's legging. If it was a side pass, it would be directly sideways and there would be no forward movement. This is a shoulder yield. This is a leg yield. Depending on what discipline you're in, they call it different things. We want to disengage those shoulders. We want to get those shoulders broke loose. We need to keep that forward motion. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video.